I, nearly adult male, have been in therapy for many years. I don't go so often anymore, like once a month. But when I was younger, starting at age 6, I went twice a week and eventually once a week. Therapy is a place that continues to help me after a traumatic experience when I was 5. The only people other than my parents I ever told about the experience were my maternal grandparents and my best friend I've known since I was 4. When Mom died and Dad got remarried, I had zero wish to tell my stepmother. I never cared that deeply about her to tell her, and I don't trust her that much. She's not in my inner circle of trust and love, which is what my therapist helped me see it as. The inner circles are the people I'm okay with telling, and it might never grow much. It makes it easier for me. My dad always struggled with the fact that I never told my stepmother. He asked me for permission to tell her before, and I told him I wasn't okay with that. He asked me why, and I told him she wasn't part of my inner circle. A couple of times he brought it up around his wife and she started asking questions. It hurt to hear. My best friend knew because he was a kid, but not her, an adult, and she considers herself my parent even though I don't. Then a couple of weeks ago my dad told her anyway. He knew I wasn't okay with it. He never had my permission. I'd always refused to tell her myself. She tried to talk to me about it, but I refused. I told my dad I would never forgive him for telling her, that I will never trust him again. I told him he was now removed from the circle and technically I only had one parent still in there and I couldn't even talk to her because she died. My dad claimed my reaction was too harsh and I shouldn't remove him from the circle. His wife told me she felt she earned her place in the circle. I told her she was never close to the circle and would never have been part of it. I told her if my wishes had been respected, she would never have known about my past trauma. I refused to forgive my dad or engage with either of them on the topic. So my dad and his wife wanted us to go to a therapy session together, and I put my foot down and said no. They told me it was the only way to move forward as a family and therapy can help us. I said I only invite people I love and trust into therapy with me. My dad said I couldn't stop loving him over this, and I admitted I hadn't, but I no longer trusted him. His wife asked if it was her I didn't love, and I said yes. They accused me of acting out of malice and contempt, and said I would regret it in the future. They also told me I need to leave room for differences of action and opinion. I told them this was not something to be shared with anyone against my will, and my dad made his choice and he chose to lose my trust. They keep insisting I need to attend therapy and I need to give this a chance to be resolved and for us to move on. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The bottom line is that it's your information to share. It happened to you, and as such you made it clear you did not want your stepmother to know. That should have been the end of it. Your confidence and personal information were not only shared, they confronted you with it. It's not a wonder that you no longer trust your father. Your mother only further removed herself from your life. I can't even imagine the depth of betrayal. The dad put the stepmom's curiosity over the son's mental health. It's not a stepmom's choice decision. It's about satisfying this woman's ego over protecting his well-being. She is only his wife, not your stepmother. I hope you find peace one day. You sound like a very together young man. I think the father put himself before the OP. He's the one who couldn't keep that secret from his wife and started spilling the milk, which made her curious. I have some compassion for the father, as it was probably too big of a secret, and he needed to vent his own feelings about it over the years. But he chose unwisely. He should have registered himself for therapy to secure a truly confidential ear and support. Your dad has no leg to stand on. You're not acting with malice by enforcing a clearly stated boundary. He's minimizing and distracting by turning it into a "you're so wrong for treating us this way" thing. It's pathetic, really. Remind him that someone doesn't get to hurt another person, then decide how that person responds. So I had a baby some weeks ago with my partner to whom I'm not married. We've been together for a while and I've made many compromises in this relationship. While discussing the baby's name, we had a few disagreements, but ultimately decided on a name we both liked well enough. The surname was a sticking point. He wanted the baby to have his name alone. I offered to hyphenate because, logistically, it's easier for the baby to have both of our names. He's been drinking the red pill Kool-Aid lately, a large bone of contention in this relationship, and went off about how it's tradition and the right thing to do and his right as a man to have the baby have his surname. He told me I'd be emasculating him and may as well be a single parent if I didn't grant him this one little ask. My word is final, baby has one surname. This was late in my pregnancy and I didn't have it in me to fight, so I told him that I understood what he was saying. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago when the baby's birth certificate came. He blew a gasket when he saw that I'd given the baby my surname. He rehashed the conversation above, saying I agreed to give the baby his surname. This is where I might be the idiot. I did nothing of the sort. I told him I understood him, which I did, but I never said I agreed. I told him there was no way I was doing all the work of making a baby for him to stick his name on it. When he brought up tradition, I told him it's also traditional for him to marry me before having a baby, but he was happy to ignore that. I told him it was traditional for him to be the provider, but I do that too, and I pointed out other holes in his logic. I told him trying to bully me into submission with his red pill BS when I was exhausted from pregnancy didn't work. He should have known better than to expect me to not share a surname with my child. He said the baby should only have one surname. They do, so why's he mad? He went crying to his brothers and mother, all traditionalists and misogynists, and now they're all up in arms. Am I the idiot? Was he not there when you were filling out the forms? That's pretty telling too. Not the idiot. What to name the baby is definitely a valid conversation, but he wasn't having one with you. He was trying to bulldoze you without compromise. You are unmarried and likely will be the default parent. He doesn't uphold any other traditional practices from your perspective until they benefit him. That's a selfish trait in him. When the baby has the same last name as the mom, it makes things a lot easier with travel, doctors, legal issues, etc. Also, when most people talk about babies or bring them up, nobody calls the baby by their first and last name. Enjoy your new baby, and if needed down the line, if you get married to this man or someone else, you can always change your last name. How the heck is drinking the red pill Kool-Aid a coping strategy? Have some respect for yourself, girl. Why are you with this man? If he's so traditional, as he proposed, isn't it bad for the entire family to have the same last name, especially in a traditional family where the parents are married and dad is a breadwinner? That all kind of makes sense, but it's hypocritical for this guy to cry about tradition when he isn't taking on all the traditional responsibilities. For the love of God, break it off now before he does any more damage. I, a 26-year-old female, have a preschool-aged son. We were celebrating my husband's birthday, so a few people were at our house. We have a shaky old bookshelf that we use for old VHS movies, which has fallen down twice. We've meant to get rid of it, but we've decided to focus on our living situations first. My son was lying down on his back with his feet at the bottom of the shelf out of boredom while I was deciding on a position for the couch. A small earthquake happened and it began to fall towards him. I screamed, admittedly loud, threw myself over the couch and pulled him out of the way by his arm. He just laughed and called me Girl Flash because I was fast, and I just held on to him and began to cry. People who heard my scream were in the room now, and he explained what had happened. My sister reassured me and told me to stop crying, but I couldn't. She got annoyed after a bit and said I was being dramatic and that he was fine. I said rather harshly, "You watched that shelf almost fall on your daughter and just go back to normal." She said, "Just as you as ever," and left me alone. When my husband came back from his dad taking him for his birthday gift, he was busy shopping during the incident, my sister said, "Sorry about her, you're in for a heck of a marriage." He asked what she was talking about, noticed I was still misty-eyed. I explained and he just said nothing. He put the VHS tapes in a box, dragged the shelf to the garage and locked it. He asked not to invite her places again. I feel like I ended his birthday on a sour note. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, it's adrenaline. It affects people differently, but there was nothing unusual in your response. Mothers have been known to lift cars off of children. It's a thing. And it doesn't even sound like your husband is upset. He seems very level-headed about this incident. Your sister dredged up her history with you to make this a bigger deal than needed. Yes, I think he's more upset that his child could have been hurt and he didn't get rid of the shelf sooner. He may be blaming himself. To be honest, that part is almost enough for an everyone's the idiot rating. You have a heavy and unstable shelf that you refuse to get rid of and allow your preschooler to play on and around, then it's your fault when it falls on the kid. You don't need to figure out your situation to get a $10 anti-tip kit for a sketchy shelf. Exactly, why wouldn't you remove the shelf before anything can happen? You've been wanting to get rid of it, but you want to focus on your living situation? What the heck does that even mean? It doesn't sound like the shelf was being used for anything important. VHS movies, put them in milk crates or something. You should have gotten rid of the shelf a long time ago. And then you say your husband did get rid of it, which meant that this whole time it could have been gone. No offense, but what's wrong with some people? My, female 30, husband, 31, dated Kathy, female 30, for 3 years while at university. They were planning to get married when Kathy fell pregnant, but she confessed the child may be another man's. They broke up, but a DNA test proved my husband was the father. As such, my husband agreed to co-parent but refused to rekindle the relationship. Very sadly, the baby was born with a heart defect and passed away at 4 months old. Kathy and my husband were destroyed and Kathy ended up moving away. My husband went on to meet me and we were married 2 years ago. My mother-in-law, 60, has always carried a torch for Kathy and thought they should get back together when the child was my husband's. Then the next reason became so that Kathy and my husband could help each other with their grief. Unfortunately, between her love of Kathy and my being of a different race, mother-in-law has made no secret of not liking me, to the extent that she's excluded me from family photos because I'm not family. My husband has always stood up for me in these scenarios. My mother-in-law's birthday was last weekend and my husband wanted to throw a celebration at our house. We went the whole 9 yards with a cake and decorations. My husband also asked for my help picking out a very expensive handbag as a gift. I love my husband and I know he loves his mom, so I'm happy to help him do something nice for her. My mother-in-law showed up on the day with Kathy in tow, which was a surprise for everyone. She said that she'd run into Kathy at the store as Kathy has recently moved back. Mother-in-law wanted to reintegrate the mother of her grandchild back into the family, never mind the fact that the baby passed away around 6 years ago now. I was really upset, but this was only exacerbated by my mother-in-law constantly trying to throw my husband and Kathy together. Kathy, why don't you sit next to him? Kathy, why don't you help him with the barbecue? Kathy, would you mind asking him where X is? I spent the whole day biting my tongue, but it was a bit too much when everyone left, and my mother-in-law asked Kathy to hug my husband. My husband initially refused, but after some pushing from mother-in-law, he relented and hugged Kathy. When they left, I asked my husband what he was thinking. He said he didn't want to upset my mother-in-law on her birthday, but I asked why he wanted to upset me. He said he didn't, he just thought it would be easier to handle with me later. I was furious and said that I expected that either mother-in-law would apologize or she would no longer be welcome in our home. My husband said that I was going too far, but I don't think I'm being unreasonable. Was I the idiot? Not the idiot. Easier to handle with me later is code for I'd rather hurt you because it's easier to make you forgive me than deal with the cause of the issue. He allowed his mother to force physical intimacy because he didn't want to upset her on her birthday when she brought the ex, who cheated on him, to your home and tried to make them flirt. She deserved to have her birthday ruined. God, if I were Kathy, I'd probably be so weirded out by all of this. Though I wouldn't have gone at all if the host hadn't invited me. You have a husband problem. He should have kicked Mom out the moment she turned up with Kathy. My thought as well, OP's husband may have been trained all along to obey Mommy above all else. OP, put your foot down. Now that Kathy is nearby, and Mommy has already opened the door and changed the lock, so to speak, Kathy is going to be in your front yard constantly until Mommy gets what she wants. Why on earth did Kathy go along with it? Coming to the party is one thing, realizing it's at your ex and his wife's house and constantly being thrown at him? Why did she not leave? Can we talk about the elephant in the room? Kathy is an idiot and has no shame. Why would she show up at ex's home uninvited by ex or new wife? Unless an ex is on friendly terms with their significant other, inserting oneself in their lives is unnecessary. OP, watch your back because your husband, your mother-in-law and Kathy do not have your best interest in mind. So my cat Barry died 3 months ago of old age. I've been absolutely devastated. We adopted him and we've had him since I was 6 and I was very attached to him. I'm 21 now and really wanted to get something in memory of him, and since he was a black cat, I got a small tattoo of a black cat in memory of him on my arm. My sister, 27, didn't like him much and doesn't like animals in general, but she never did anything to hurt him whatsoever. The thing is, we were all at my cousin's engagement party 2 days ago. Since we're all close, we helped him with the preparations and stayed late to help his mom, my aunt and dad with the house and cleaning up. We sat down to talk and it was late, and my aunt's husband asked what happened to our cat, and I explained it to him. He said he was sorry to hear that and the usual stuff. I showed my family the tattoo and that I got it for Barry. My sister looked at my tattoo and said, "Stupid, that won't bring him back." I was in complete shock. Like some humiliated loser, I just mumbled, "I'm trying to do something kind in his memory. I love that cat a lot." She laughed and said it wasn't that, it was that a tattoo was nasty and unnatural and made me look unclean. She also likes to pretend to be very religious. She doesn't practice religion as needed though, and said, "How will you give your body back to the Lord with a tattoo?" I said, "How will you give your body back to the Lord with a nose job, an eyebrow lift, lip filler and veneers?" I know she's had more done, but I don't care. She just started shaking and crying, snot running down her mouth, saying I was questioning her loyalty to God and having a complete mental breakdown. My family is furious at me, so I just came here. Am I the idiot? Should I apologize? It really hurt how she treated my memory of Barry, so I don't feel like apologizing, but I don't know. I also want to add that I'm not against plastic surgery, nor do I care. I just wanted to clap back at her. Not the idiot. I'm sorry, but your response was hilarious. Well played. But damn, your sister is a major witch and idiot. So sorry to hear about Barry. I'm in my 60s and completely understand how you feel. Nothing to be ashamed of, and props for honouring his memory. Your family is wrong thinking you should apologise. Your sister owes an apology and needs to grow up and not judge others. LMAO, fast comebacks like this are amazing. She can dish it out but not take it. OP, well done for whipping that witty retort right back at her. She likely responded that strongly because of her lack of a legitimate response to your spot-on observation. It was an immature defense mechanism and your parents are enabling her. Her sister sounds like a pretty unhappy person. Good for you for standing up for yourself.